Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. So, we're going to jump right into things because we are unpacking a truly fascinating situation regarding the global diamond industry's current outlook. We're looking directly at the hard data today, specifically the July 16th, 2026 market report from Rapaport. And we're going to try to make sense of this bizarre situation together. If you follow luxury markets or commodities, you're probably used to things following a somewhat predictable rhythm. But right now, the market is throwing us a massive curveball. We're watching established rules literally bend and break in real time, creating this wild scenario that we're calling the diamond price paradox.
I want to kick things off by putting a massive contradiction right on the table. Why on earth are diamond prices falling if the supply is shrinking? Think back to your standard Econ 101 class. The most basic rule of thumb is that when a product becomes harder to find, but people still really want it, the price naturally goes up, right? It's just supply and demand. Well, the modern diamond market is practically ignoring the textbook right now. We are seeing shrinking availability in certain areas of the market, and yet the prices just refuse to bounce back. The usual levers are being pulled, but the expected results, they just aren't happening. Let's dig into the data and see exactly what this looks like on the ground.
When you track the 1-carat Rapaport Trade Diamond Index, or RAPI, over a 3-month stretch, it tells a fascinating story. You just see this steady, undeniable downward slope. And according to the Rapaport report, the really confusing part is that demand for 1-carat stones is actually picking up, while the overall supply pipeline is simultaneously falling. So given those two facts, you'd absolutely expect that trend line to start curving upward as buyers compete for fewer stones, right? Yet, prices are absolutely not recovering, they're just trending down, down, down. Why isn't that price going up? It's a real head-scratcher, and it tells us that broader economic sentiments, or maybe shifting consumer behaviors, are completely overriding traditional scarcity metrics. And this mystery only deepens when we zoom out to the year-over-year picture. Breaking down the index drops across different carat sizes is actually pretty staggering. We aren't just talking about a slight market dip or some seasonal fluctuation here. We're looking at a 22.15% drop for 0.30 carat stones, a near 25% plummet, literally a quarter of their value wiped out for half-carat diamonds. And then there's a 15.14% decline for 1-carat stones. Just think about what a 25% drop means for inventory values across the entire global supply chain. Prices are falling steeply across almost all these standard, highly traded sizes. The baseline of the industry is fundamentally shifting right under our feet. So, what's actually happening with the physical supply of these stones? Well, we're seeing two very different extremes playing out at the exact same time. On one hand, we've got serious supply constraints. De Beers, who, as you know, is an absolute titan in the industry, is actually pausing production at their Venetia mine. Their specific reasoning? There is simply too weak of a market for small, low-value diamonds to justify the operational costs. At the same time, Canada's Ekati mine is closing down entirely. But on the flip side, and this is wild, while the supply of small stones tightens, the Lucara mine just unearthed a jaw-dropping 1,305 carat diamond. And get this, incredible fact from the report, it is their 10th diamond found weighing over 1,000 carats. So we have major mines shutting down because small stones aren't viable, while literal giant rocks are being pulled from the earth elsewhere. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom on the pricing front. Let's shift gears and look at where the real heat is in the market today, the fancies trend. If you want to know what's thriving right now, it's fancy elongated shapes. Ovals, marquises, and emerald cuts are actively outperforming traditional round diamonds, particularly when you get into the 2-carat and larger categories. These elongated shapes tend to look larger on the hand and offer a much more unique profile, which is clearly resonating with buyers. In fact, the marquise is currently the most expensive fancy shape out there. And if you've got an eye for history, antique cuts and styles are incredibly hot right now. Consumer tastes are moving rapidly away from the standard round brilliant and deeply into these distinctive personalized styles. Actually, scratch that. You can't just cut a diamond into an oval and expect it to sell overnight. The current luxury market operates with a very strict divide. Quality and proportions are everything. On one side, very well-cut fancy shapes are incredibly difficult to find, and because of that specific scarcity, they're commanding serious premiums. But for fancies with bad proportions, the Rapaport report uses a very specific, honestly kind of chilling word for them, illiquid, meaning they're just sitting there, unsold, unable to be turned into cash. In a market where consumers are highly educated and super selective, subpar cuts are simply left behind. Being a fancy shape gets you in the door, sure, but the exact geometry dictates if the stone actually sells. To really drive home just how much shape and proportion matter right now, consider this number. a 20 to 25% premium. That is the massive markup that long cushion cuts are currently trading at compared to standard square cushion cuts. It is genuinely surprising that just slightly altering the rectangular proportion yields such a massive leap in market value. Just think about that for a second. We are talking about the exact same raw material, the exact same carat weight, but just a slightly more elongated rectangular geometry makes it incredibly easy to sell and boosts its wholesale value by up to a quarter. Okay, let's zoom out and look at the broader industry financials, because this is where we find the other side of our paradox. We spent the first half of this explainer looking at falling wholesale diamond prices, right? Yet the health of the broader industry tells a wildly different story. Belgium's polished exports up 18% year over year to $3.7 billion. Richemont, the parent company of mega luxury houses like Cartier and Van Cleef, they saw their jewelry maison sales jump 21% to $5.4 billion. And Dubai polished trading is up roughly 25%. So the raw, loose wholesale diamonds might be dropping in price, but the actual business of designing, branding, and selling finished luxury jewelry, it's experiencing massive double-digit growth.
To understand that growth, a quick tour of the global market shows some incredible resilience. Different regions are finding very specific niches of success, totally despite the macro trends we were just talking about. For instance, the U.S. wholesale market is remaining remarkably steady, even pushing through those typically slow summer vacation months with really solid footing. Over in India, market sentiment is actively improving. Buyers are way more confident, and the industry is gearing up with very positive expectations for the domestic Diwali season. And in Hong Kong, there is active, aggressive investment buying happening. They are specifically targeting very high-quality, large round diamonds in the 3 to 10 carat range, treating these exceptional stones strictly as a tangible asset class. And speaking of the Asian markets, there is a fascinating cultural shift happening in China right now that is a crucial takeaway for understanding this whole future outlook. Historically, the massive Chinese diamond market was heavily anchored on marriage. It was a bridal market. But today, consumers are increasingly buying diamonds for personal milestones and just daily wear instead. They're shifting away from traditional preset bridal rings and preferring to buy loose diamonds to have them custom set for everyday fashion. This perfectly reflects a broader global shift in how younger generations are viewing luxury goods. They see them as tools for everyday self-expression rather than just formal ceremonial tokens. It's a total reimagining of what a diamond actually represents. Which brings us to a provocative question I want to leave bouncing around in your head today. What do these shifting priorities actually mean for the future of luxury? We've explored a market today where wholesale index prices are dropping, while luxury brand retail sales are absolutely soaring. We've seen consumer habits move from traditional bridal purchases straight into custom daily wear. We've seen a market that forces minds to close over small stones, but happily pays a 25% premium simply for an elongated cushion cut over a square one. The diamond industry's current outlook isn't just a simple equation of supply and demand anymore. It's a highly emotional landscape driven by specific, constantly evolving consumer desires. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing the data, keep asking those big questions, and I will see you next time.